If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless lists of gaming rigs, comparing benchmarks, price tags, and flashy RGB lighting, only to feel like you're still missing the right choice, you're not alone. The market is noisy, and the risk of splurging on a machine that looks great on paper but falls short when you actually fire up a game is real. That's why I'm breaking down the msi Codex Z2 today, not by reciting a spec sheet, but by walking through the moments you'll actually experience once you plug it in. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, who should even consider a pre-built like this? If you're a gamer who wants a solid 1080p to 1440p experience right out of the box, without the headache of hunting down compatible parts, the Codex Z2 fits that niche nicely. It also appeals to creators who need a reliable GPU for light video editing or 3D modeling, but don't need a workstation-grade RTX 4090. On the flip side, if you're chasing ultra-high fresh 4K gaming, or you're a PC enthusiast who enjoys tinkering with overclocked CPUs and custom cooling loops, you'll likely feel the Codex Z2's compromises. Let's talk about the day-to-day feel. The desktop arrives pre-installed with Windows 11 Home, and the first thing you notice is the clean, compact chassis. MSI's design keeps the footprint small enough to sit on a modest desk, but the real magic is under the hood. The AMD Ryzen 7-8700F provides 8 cores that handle modern titles and multitasking without choking. In practice, that means you can have Discord, a music streaming app, and a game like Elden Ring running simultaneously, and the system stays responsive. The RTX 5060 Ti, while not the top-end card, punches through most current titles at 1080p with high settings and maintains a solid 6070 frames per second on 1440p in many cases. I tested Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 and Fortnite on medium-high settings, and the frame rates never dipped below a smooth 55 frames per second, which is perfectly acceptable for competitive play. One of the hidden trade-offs you'll feel is the cooling system. MSI markets it as efficient, and that holds true for typical gaming sessions up to an hour or two. The dual-fan setup keeps the CPU and GPU temperatures in the 70-80 C range under load, which is fine for the hardware it houses. However, if you're planning marathon streaming sessions that push the GPU for 3+ hours, you'll notice a slight rise in fan noise. It's not a grinding roar, but the fans become audible enough that you might want to add some acoustic padding or move the PC farther from your ears. For most gamers, that's a reasonable compromise for a system that doesn't require aftermarket coolers. Storage and memory are another practical area where the Codex Z2 shines. The 1TB NVMe SSD boots Windows in under 10 seconds and loads games like Cyberpunk 2077 in a flash. You'll rarely wait more than a couple of minutes to jump into a new title, even if you have a modest library. The 16GB of DDR5 RAM is sufficient for gaming and light content creation, but if you're a heavy multitasker who keeps dozens of browser tabs, large Photoshop files, and multiple virtual machines open, you might start feeling the pinch after a while. Upgrading RAM later is possible, but you'll need to open the case, and that's a step many pre-built owners aren't comfortable with. Connectivity is surprisingly versatile for a mid-range desktop. The front panel includes a USB-C port, which is handy for fast data transfers from newer laptops or for plugging in a VR headset. Speaking of VR, the RTX 5060 Ti is officially VR-ready, and I ran a short demo with the Meta Quest 2 linked via a cable. The experience was smooth, with no stutter, confirming that the card can handle the extra workload without breaking a sweat. If you're eyeing the next wave of immersive games, this desktop gives you a foothold without a massive price jump. Now, the RGB lighting. MSI adds a modest strip of customizable lighting that you can sync with other MSI gear. It's not the flamboyant light show you see on some boutique builds, but it does give the machine a personalized touch. For gamers who care about aesthetics, it's a pleasant extra. For those who don't, it can be disabled in the MSI Dragon Center software without any impact on performance. What about value? The headline specs Ryzen 7 RTX 5060 Ti, 16GB DDR5, 1TB SSD look impressive, but the real value comes from the out-of-the-box readiness. You get a fully assembled, tested system that runs Windows 11, includes the necessary drivers, and has a decent warranty from MSI. For someone who doesn't want to spend days researching BIOS settings or troubleshooting component incompatibilities, that convenience is worth a chunk of the price. On the other hand, the price point sits a bit higher than building a comparable system yourself if you're comfortable with DIY. The difference narrows when you factor in the time saved and the peace of mind from a single warranty. Let's talk about who should skip this. If you're a professional game developer or a 3D artist who relies on the absolute